There is no greater battlefield than the one within, and there is no greater victory than mastering the whispers of your own mind. Every war you will ever fight, every storm you will ever weather, every mountain you will ever climb begins first in your mind. Your mind can be your sanctuary or your prison. It can lift you high into the skies of possibility, or it can chain you to the weight of doubt. Most people are not destroyed by the world outside of them. They are undone by the voices within. If you can control your mind, you can control your life. If you do not, your mind will control you. That is why today I ask you not to simply listen, but to lean in, to open your heart and stay with me until the very last word. Because what you hear today may be the key that unlocks the life you have been waiting for. The mind is the steering wheel of your life. Wherever it turns, that is where you go. You can have the strongest body, the finest education, the most golden opportunities laid before you, but if your mind is not set in the right direction, you will circle endlessly, lost in confusion, regret, or fear. The mind leads, the life follows. Everything begins in thought. Every success, every downfall, every triumph, and every tragedy first lived inside someone's imagination before it appeared in their hands. If you allow your mind to drift without guidance, do not be surprised when your life drifts as well. But if you take hold of your thoughts, if you grip the steering wheel with both hands, you can chart a new course for yourself, no matter where you began. Think of a driver on a long road. If their hands are steady, the car stays straight. But if they release control, even for a moment, the vehicle veers off. The same is true of your mind. Each time you let your thoughts wander into negativity, fear, or resentment, your life begins to veer off its destined road. The wreckage of many lives did not begin with external accidents, but with internal misdirection. It started with a thought of, I am not enough, I cannot do this, I will never make it. These thoughts, repeated and rehearsed, turn into roads you begin to travel, even if you never wanted to go that way. But the reverse is also true. When you hold steady thoughts of courage, hope, persistence, and love, your life follows those roads toward strength, opportunity, and growth. Your mind is not simply a storage place of memories. It is a compass constantly pointing you toward what you believe most deeply. If you believe you are powerless, every situation will appear as proof of that belief. If you believe you are capable, you will find possibilities where others see none. The steering wheel does not ask the car whether it agrees, it simply turns, and the car follows. In the same way, your mind does not ask your circumstances whether they approve. It simply directs your path, and your circumstances must adjust. Some people underestimate the power of thought because thoughts seem invisible, silent, harmless. But invisible things often hold the greatest power. Gravity cannot be seen, but it keeps the planets in order. Air cannot be seen, yet it sustains every breath. Thoughts, though unseen, determine whether you rise in peace or collapse in despair. They are the unseen architects of your tomorrow. The words you speak to yourself when nobody else is listening, the silent pictures you replay in your head, the images you choose to nurture, these are all directions of the wheel. And slowly, steadily, your life takes the turns your thoughts command. Many lives are trapped not because people are incapable, but because they have never learned to control the direction of their own minds. They think whatever enters, they accept whatever arises, and they let their mental steering wheel be jerked left and right by fear, by envy, by anger, by doubt. And then they wonder why life feels like an endless detour. But when you finally recognize that you do not have to accept every thought that knocks on the door, you begin to take your power back. You can let doubt knock and still choose not to let it drive. You can let fear whisper and still choose to turn the wheel toward courage. The mind may offer 1,000 roads, but you must choose which one you travel. Control does not mean suppression, it means awareness. It means noticing the thought that says, "You will fail," and instead of letting it steer your entire day, you speak back with, "I will try again." It means catching the thought that says, "Nobody cares," and gently turning it toward, "I am still worthy of love." This act of choosing again and again may seem small, but it is the very essence of control. Over time, these small corrections prevent you from crashing into despair and instead guide you toward peace. Life is not a straight road. There will be curves, sudden stops, unexpected detours, but the wheel is always in your hands. Others may create obstacles, but they cannot turn the wheel for you. People may disappoint you, betray you, or misjudge you, but they cannot dictate the direction of your mind. Even in the hardest moments, you still have the power to say, "This pain will not break me. This challenge will not own me. This moment is not the end of my road." That inner choice, repeated again and again, keeps you moving forward when others stop. Think of those who have survived unimaginable hardships, loss, poverty, injustice. They did not rise because the world was kind to them. They rose because their minds chose a direction that refused to stop. Their circumstances were harsh, but their inner wheel turned toward faith, resilience, and vision. That is why some people grow in places where others wither, why some build legacies in the same soil where others surrendered. The soil is the same, but the steering wheel is different. The secret is not to wait for perfect conditions. The secret is to direct your mind even in imperfect ones. If you wait until everything is peaceful before you decide to think positively, you will wait forever. Control means that even when storms surround you, you turn the wheel toward calm. Even when others curse you, you turn it toward dignity. Even when failure meets you, you turn it toward persistence. That is power, choosing the direction of your inner world when the outer one rages against you. No car moves itself. No journey completes itself. Someone must decide which way to turn. In the same way, your future will not build itself. Your destiny will not simply arrive uninvited. It requires your hand on the wheel, your choice to think higher, your decision to rise above the lies of fear. Each day is a road, each moment is a turn, and each thought is a decision. The question is, where are you turning your life? For if you let your mind wander without purpose, you will live a life without direction. But if you hold your thoughts steady, if you take the wheel firmly and guide your mind toward courage, love, and persistence, your life cannot help but follow. The mind is the steering wheel of your life. Take hold of it, for your future depends on it. Thoughts shape reality. What you hold in the secret chambers of your mind eventually spills out into the open fields of your life. Every invention, every masterpiece, every tragedy, and every triumph began first as a thought. The unseen currents of the mind become the visible rivers of experience. Your thoughts are not just private whispers, they are blueprints. They are seeds that grow, whether you notice them or not. If you plant fear, fear blooms. If you plant courage, courage grows. The garden of your life is the harvest of your thinking. Think of the power held in a single thought. A man imagines a flying machine and the skies are filled with airplanes. A woman envisions freedom and generations walk in liberty. A child dreams of building something no one has seen before, and the world is transformed by their creation. What began in the unseen realm of thought becomes a living, breathing reality for the world to touch. That is the power of the mind. But just as thoughts can build, they can also destroy. A thought of inadequacy, repeated long enough, becomes chains that keep someone from even trying. A thought of bitterness, entertained for years, hardens into hatred that poisons relationships and robs peace. The mind does not discriminate between what you want and what you fear. It simply amplifies what you feed it. The thought you dwell on is the thought that writes your future. Most people underestimate the weight of their inner dialogue. They believe reality happens to them, separate from what they think. But reality bends beneath the influence of thought. When you believe you cannot succeed, you stop seeking opportunity, and failure finds you. When you believe life is cruel, you notice only the pain, ignoring the small kindnesses along the way. When you believe the world is abundant, you find doors opening where others see only walls. It is not magic, it is focus. Your mind becomes a magnet for whatever you hold most tightly. Consider how the body responds to thought. Imagine a lemon in your hand. Picture yourself slicing it open, the juice spilling, the sharp scent rising. Imagine bringing that lemon to your lips and tasting the sourness. Without ever touching the fruit, your mouth waters. Your body reacts to what your mind pictures as though it were real. In the same way, your life reacts to the thoughts you feed it, whether or not the event has occurred. You prepare yourself for joy or despair long before either arrives. Thoughts are architects. They sketch, they design, they construct. And once the structure of thought is strong enough, life begins to build upon it. A person who constantly repeats, "I am unlucky," builds walls of limitation around themselves. A person who says, "I will rise," lays down foundations of resilience. The reality you live is not only shaped by what happens outside of you, but by what you have rehearsed inside for years. This is why guarding your thoughts is essential. If you leave your mind unprotected, the world will fill it with noise. Advertisements will convince you that you are not enough. Critics will whisper that you cannot. Memories will echo that you have failed before, so you will fail again. If you accept these thoughts unchallenged, you will live their script. But if you decide that not every thought deserves to stay, you begin to reclaim your power. You can let a negative thought arrive without building it a home. You can let fear knock and still refuse to open the door. Reality is shaped not by the first thought, but by the thoughts you repeat. One negative thought may come and go, but a negative belief fed daily writes itself into the fabric of your life. The same is true for hope. One spark of hope may flicker, but if you nurture it, if you repeat it, if you water it with faith, it grows into a fire that lights your entire path. The mind learns through repetition. The thoughts you rehearse become the reality you inhabit. History is filled with proof. Entire movements for justice began with a thought that refused to die, the thought that freedom belongs to all, the thought that dignity cannot be denied. At first, the world said it was impossible, but repeated in enough minds, believed in enough hearts, those thoughts reshaped nations. If collective thought can shift the tides of history, how much more can your own thoughts reshape the path of your life? Even in suffering, thoughts carry the power to alter reality. Two people can endure the same hardship, yet one grows bitter while the other grows stronger. The difference is not the pain, but the thought placed around it. One says, "This is the end of me," and reality becomes despair. The other says, "This will make me wiser," and reality becomes resilience. The same storm, two different interpretations, two different outcomes. The storm did not decide, the thought did. To understand the power of thought is to recognize that you are never powerless. You cannot always choose what happens, but you can choose how you frame it. You can choose whether to see rejection as failure or redirection. You can choose whether to see obstacles as walls or as teachers. Your choice of thought does not erase difficulty, but it determines whether difficulty shapes you or breaks you. What you believe about yourself will quietly dictate how others treat you. If you carry yourself with the thought, I am worthy, people sense it. If you walk with the thought, I am invisible, people overlook you. Reality echoes what you have already decided in your mind. The energy you hold within radiates outward, shaping how others respond, shaping the opportunities you see, shaping the courage you carry. To master your thoughts is to begin shaping your own reality consciously, not by accident. It is to wake up each morning and decide what kind of story you will live. It is to notice the weeds of negativity and pull them before they grow roots. It is to plant words of faith, images of possibility, visions of peace, and to water them daily with belief. This is not daydreaming, it is discipline. It is the act of aligning your inner world with the life you seek to build. Your thoughts are not harmless visitors. They are builders. They will not leave your life untouched. Every moment you choose what kind of structure they build. And when enough time passes, you will walk into the house you created, whether it is a prison or a palace, whether it is filled with shadows or filled with light. That house is not built by accident, it is built by thought, and that truth is both a warning and a gift. For if thoughts shape reality, then you have the power, every single day, to begin shaping a reality worthy of the life you desire. Discipline over distraction is the quiet strength that separates those who dream from those who do. In every age, in every generation, the greatest obstacle has never been a lack of opportunity, but a lack of focus. The world offers an endless stream of noise, voices calling for your attention, screens lighting up with endless updates, desires rising and falling with every passing moment. To live without discipline is to surrender your mind to this noise. To live with discipline is to stand tall in the middle of chaos and say, I will not be moved. Distraction is not always obvious. Sometimes it looks like entertainment, harmless scrolling, or conversations that go nowhere. Sometimes it disguises itself as busyness, running from task to task without ever truly moving forward. It pulls at you softly, quietly, until one day you wake up and realize years have passed and the vision you once carried has faded under the weight of small, meaningless diversions. Life is too precious to be spent wandering in circles. Without discipline, your potential leaks away, drop by drop, until there is nothing left to pour into your purpose. Discipline, on the other hand, is a decision to rule your own mind. It is not harshness, not punishment, but direction. It is the art of telling yourself where to go and refusing to be pulled away by the easy and the trivial. Discipline does not silence every distraction, but it chooses not to follow them. It is the compass that keeps you aligned with your destination, even when the winds blow against you. Without it, you will be blown wherever life pushes you. With it, you steer your own course, steady and intentional. Consider the athlete who wakes before dawn to train while the world sleeps. Their muscles ache, their body begs for rest, yet they rise again and again. Why? Because their mind has been disciplined to value the vision over the moment. They understand that every choice is a seed, and every seed will bear fruit. The fruit of discipline is strength, mastery, and success. The fruit of distraction is regret. You cannot hold both. Discipline over distraction is not only about grand achievements, it is about the daily choices that form your character. It is choosing to listen instead of interrupt, to work instead of procrastinate, to reflect instead of react. It is the ability to delay the small pleasure of now for the greater fulfillment of later. Distraction whispers, take it easy, you can do it tomorrow. Discipline answers, I will do it today because tomorrow is not promised. One builds a legacy, the other builds excuses. Every person is given the same 24 hours. The difference between the fulfilled and the frustrated is not time, but focus. The fulfilled understand that every hour is a gift to be invested. The frustrated scatter their hours in 1,000 directions and wonder why their life feels empty. Discipline teaches you that you cannot pour into everything, so you must pour into what matters most. When you focus your energy, you multiply your power. When you scatter it, you weaken yourself. Distraction often feels urgent, but rarely is important. The endless notifications, the constant comparison, the rush to answer every call, none of these create a meaningful life. They simply consume it. Discipline teaches you to pause and ask, does this move me closer to who I am becoming, or does it simply keep me busy? That question alone can save years of wasted energy. There will always be more distractions than discipline. The world will never run out of noise. That is why self-mastery is so rare. To live disciplined is to swim against the current, to stand against the tide. It will not always feel easy. It will often feel lonely. While others indulge in distraction, you will be building. While others waste time, you will be investing it. And when the harvest comes, the difference will be undeniable. The fruit of discipline is not only success, but peace. The quiet confidence that you are living your days with intention, not wasting them in trivial pursuit. Even in the smallest areas, discipline shapes destiny. The way you speak to yourself when no one hears, the habits you repeat when no one sees, the choices you make when no one knows, these are the building blocks of your future. A distracted mind cannot hold on to these small commitments, but a disciplined one can. It is not talent that sustains success, but the discipline to keep showing up, even when the applause is gone. Distraction promises quick comfort, but leaves long emptiness. Discipline may demand sacrifice, but it delivers lasting fulfillment. Those who choose discipline do not live easier lives, they live truer ones. They do not waste themselves on every passing desire. They gather their strength and direct it where it counts. The distracted person wonders why nothing changes. The disciplined person watches their life unfold according to the vision they have held. Discipline is the language of freedom. Without it, you are a slave to impulses, emotions, and the endless demands of others. With it, you are free to rise above, to say no when you must, to protect your time, your energy, your purpose. Discipline creates boundaries where distraction creates chaos. It teaches you that not everything deserves your attention and that your attention is the most valuable currency you have. Spend it wisely and life expands. Waste it and life slips through your fingers. Every great achievement, every life of purpose, every story of transformation has been built on discipline over distraction. It is the unseen strength behind every visible victory. While the crowd is distracted, the disciplined are preparing. While others complain, the disciplined are practicing. While others give up, the disciplined continue. That is the difference, and it makes all the difference. You may not be able to control every circumstance, but you can control your discipline. You may not silence every distraction, but you can choose not to surrender to them. Your destiny is not determined by how many distractions call your name, but by how many times you refuse to answer. Discipline is not a single act. It is a way of life. It is the daily declaration, I will not be mastered by the trivial. I will master myself. And from that mastery, a life of meaning and power is born. The mind can be rewired. What you think today does not have to be what you think tomorrow. The patterns you carry, the fears you repeat, the doubts you hold on to are not permanent residents. They are visitors, and with intention, with practice, with discipline, you can ask them to leave. Too many people believe their mind is fixed, as though the way they think now will always be the way they think. But the truth is far greater, far freer. You are not chained to the thoughts you were born with. You are not doomed to the habits you learned in pain. You are not trapped by the voice that tells you what you cannot do. The mind is not stone, it is clay, it bends, it adapts, it reshapes. Think of a path through a forest. If people walk the same way every day, the trail becomes worn and smooth. It is easy to walk there because the ground is familiar, but if you stop using that path and instead carve out a new one, step by step, the old trail begins to fade and the new one grows stronger. This is how your brain works. Every repeated thought carves a path. Every belief you replay becomes a road. But if those roads do not serve you, you can stop walking them. You can cut new trails, create new habits of thought, and in time, those new trails become the highways of your mind. For many, the old trails are carved in pain, a childhood voice that said, "You're not enough," a memory that whispered, "You always fail," an experience that screamed, "You will never heal." These trails feel permanent, but they are not. They are simply familiar. The mind prefers the familiar even when it hurts, because it is easy to return to what it knows. But freedom is found when you dare to step into the unknown path, when you repeat a new thought until it becomes your new truth. Science has proven what wisdom has long known. The brain is not fixed. It is plastic, changeable, capable of building new connections. When you practice gratitude, your brain becomes quicker to notice joy. When you practice courage, your brain becomes quicker to stand in strength. When you practice forgiveness, your brain becomes freer to release bitterness. Each choice reshapes you. You are never too old, too broken, too far gone to rewire your thinking. As long as you breathe, you can build new roads in your mind. But rewiring does not happen in a single moment. It is not a flash of lightning that strikes and changes you forever. It is a steady fire kindled daily. It is the small decision to choose a better thought today than you chose yesterday. It is the practice of catching yourself when the old pattern rises and gently replacing it with a new one. At first, it feels unnatural, forced, even false. But every new path feels that way in the beginning. Keep walking it, and what was once difficult becomes effortless. Imagine someone who has always thought, "I am unlucky." That thought has shaped every experience. When something good happens, they dismiss it as chance. When something bad happens, they see it as proof. Their brain has been wired to look for evidence of misfortune. But if that person begins to practice a new thought, "I am capable of creating opportunity," their mind begins to shift. At first, it feels unbelievable. Yet with repetition, the brain begins to search for new evidence. Suddenly, small wins that were once ignored are now noticed. Opportunities that were once invisible become clear. Life did not suddenly change. The mind did. The same is true with healing. A person who has lived in bitterness may feel as though forgiveness is impossible. But if they practice the thought, "I can let go," even if they do not yet feel it fully, their mind slowly makes room for peace. Each day the thought grows stronger, and one day they realize the chains are lighter, the anger weaker, the burden gone. The rewiring has done its work. Rewiring the mind requires patience because old paths fight to stay alive. Negative thoughts return, tempting you to walk the familiar road. Fear calls louder because it knows you are trying to leave it behind. But discipline is the hand that guides you back to the new trail. It says, "Yes, the old path is easy, but the new path is worthy." And with each return, the old weakens and the new strengthens. This is why what you repeat matters so deeply. The words you speak over yourself, the images you hold in your head, the beliefs you whisper when no one hears, these are not harmless. They are wiring your mind. Every time you say, I can't, you deepen that road. Every time you say, I will, you strengthen a new one. Every repetition is construction. The question is, what kind of architecture are you building? You must also remember that the mind is influenced by what you allow in. If you constantly surround yourself with negativity, your brain builds roads of cynicism. If you constantly fill yourself with hope, your brain builds roads of possibility. Rewiring is not only about what you think, but also about what you feed your mind. Just as the body cannot grow strong on junk food, the mind cannot grow free on toxic input. Choose wisely what you let shape your inner world. The beauty of rewiring is that it gives you the power to redefine yourself. You are not just the sum of your past experiences. You are the creator of your future perspective. You can move from fear to faith, from despair to hope, from weakness to strength by the steady work of reshaping your thoughts. You do not have to be who you once were. You do not have to live in the same patterns. The wheel of your mind can turn, and with it, your entire life can take a new direction. Think of the caterpillar. For much of its life, it crawls. The ground is all it knows. But inside, changes are taking place, rewiring its very structure. And one day, it no longer crawls, it flies. The mind is capable of the same transformation. With steady renewal, with patient rewiring, the life you once thought impossible becomes the life you live. The mind can be rewired. No thought is too old to change. No wound too deep to heal. No belief too strong to bend. Every new thought you choose is a step toward freedom. Every new belief you nurture is a bridge toward the life you want to live. You are not fixed. You are not trapped. You are not unchangeable. The roads of your mind are waiting for your direction, and if you choose to build them wisely, they will carry you into a future brighter than the past you leave behind. Guard the gates of the mind, for whatever enters there will eventually live there. Your mind is a house, and like any house, it has doors and windows. You decide what comes in, you decide what stays, and you decide what must be turned away. Yet too often people leave the gates wide open, letting every word, every image, every opinion, every criticism, every noise come rushing inside. Soon the mind is cluttered with voices that do not belong, with lies that should have been silenced, with fears that should never have been allowed to sit at the table. What lives in your mind will one day live in your life, so guard it with care. Every thought is a seed, and the soil of the mind does not reject. It accepts whatever is planted. If you sow doubt, you will harvest hesitation. If you sow fear, you will harvest paralysis. If you sow faith, you will harvest courage. The mind does not choose the seed, you do. That is why guarding the gates is essential. If you are not careful, the world will plant weeds while you are sleeping, and before long you will wonder why your life feels tangled and heavy. Guarding the mind means becoming aware of what enters and taking responsibility for the harvest that follows. Guarding is not about isolation, but about discernment. You cannot avoid every negative word, every harmful image, every discouraging experience. Life will place them before you, but you can decide what you will dwell on, what you will water, what you will allow to root. Just as a gardener pulls up weeds before they spread, so must you pull up harmful thoughts before they dominate. A weed unattended can choke an entire garden. A thought unguarded can choke an entire life. Consider the power of words. A careless insult spoken years ago can still echo in the mind of someone who never guarded against it. They hear it replayed, they believe it, they shape their decisions around it. On the other hand, a single word of encouragement, when guarded and nurtured, can give strength through decades. The difference lies in what the mind allowed to stay. Guarding the gates means filtering every word and asking, does this lift me or does it chain me? If it chains, let it pass. If it lifts, let it stay. Guarding also means being mindful of what you consume daily. The books you read, the shows you watch, the conversations you entertain, all of them are food for the mind. If you constantly consume chaos, your mind will become restless. If you constantly feed on negativity, your mind will become hopeless. But if you fill yourself with wisdom, with truth, with beauty, your mind will grow strong and steady. You would not feed your body poison and expect health. Do not feed your mind poison and expect peace. Many people underestimate the influence of their surroundings. They believe they are strong enough to withstand anything, but the environment you keep eventually seeps into you. Spend your days around anger, and soon you will feel it in your bones. Spend your days around gratitude, and soon you will carry it in your spirit. Guarding the gates means protecting yourself from environments that drain you, from conversations that belittle you, from influences that shrink you. You cannot always control the world around you, but you can control how much of it you allow inside. Guarding the mind also requires awareness of self-talk. Often the most dangerous intruder is not an outsider, but the voice within. If you constantly tell yourself you are unworthy, your mind will believe it and build walls to prove it true. If you speak words of possibility, your mind will begin to look for doors instead of walls. Guarding the gates means watching what you say to yourself and refusing to let the enemy live in your own head. This guarding is not passive, it is active. It requires discipline to stop when a thought enters and ask, "Do I want this to grow in me?" It requires strength to turn off the noise when everyone else is listening. It requires courage to step away from circles that feed your insecurity. To guard the gates is to value your mind as sacred ground, too precious to let anything trample upon. You cannot stop every bird from flying over your head, but you can stop them from building a nest in your hair. In the same way, you cannot stop every negative thought from arriving, but you can stop it from building a home in your mind. Guarding the gates is the daily practice of deciding which thoughts are visitors and which are residents. The visitors you dismiss, the residents you nurture. When you guard your mind, you protect your peace. When you protect your peace, you protect your power. A guarded mind cannot be shaken easily because it does not entertain every voice. It chooses carefully what to believe, and belief is the root of action. What you believe shapes what you do, and what you do shapes what you become. That is why the gates must be watched so carefully. To neglect them is to hand over your destiny to anyone who happens to walk by. Guarding does not mean shutting yourself off from the world. It means opening yourself to the right parts of it. It means allowing wisdom in but rejecting foolishness. It means embracing hope but rejecting despair. It means surrounding yourself with people, words, and images that remind you of who you are at your best. The gates are not walls to keep life out. They are doors to choose what life you allow in. In the end, your mind is your greatest treasure. It holds your dreams, your faith, your creativity, your courage. Why would you leave such treasure unprotected? You would not leave your home unlocked at night. You would not leave your valuables unguarded in the street. Yet so many leave their minds open to anything and everything. To guard your mind is to honor yourself. It is to say, my thoughts matter, my peace matters, my purpose matters too much to be polluted. Guard the gates of the mind, for once the mind is protected, the heart finds peace, and once the heart is at peace, life follows. Whatever you allow to dwell within will eventually show itself without. Choose carefully what you let in. Guard it as though your future depends on it, because it does. Silence is power, though the world often misunderstands it. Many confuse silence with weakness, as if the absence of words means the absence of strength. But silence is not surrender. Silence is not ignorance. Silence is not fear. Silence, when chosen with intention, is one of the most profound demonstrations of control, wisdom, and authority. There is strength in holding back when provoked, in listening when others rush to speak, in waiting when the world demands immediate reaction. Silence is not the absence of power. It is the maturity to wield it with precision. The loudest voices often reveal the deepest insecurities. Those who must always prove, defend, and argue reveal that their peace depends on the opinions of others. But the one who can remain silent while chaos surrounds them shows mastery over self. To be silent in the face of noise is to declare that not every battle deserves your sword, not every word deserves your answer, and not every voice deserves a response. Silence protects energy, preserves dignity, and often speaks louder than any reply could. There is a silence that calms storms. Imagine being in the presence of someone who does not rush to fill the air with words, but whose very stillness carries authority. Their quiet makes others pause. Their silence demands respect without them ever having to request it. This kind of silence is not passive, it is a presence. It communicates, I do not need to prove myself. I do not need to engage in every dispute. I do not need to waste my spirit on noise. That is the kind of silence that moves mountains. Silence teaches discipline. In a world addicted to constant commentary, restraint has become rare. People post every thought, speak every emotion, argue every disagreement, but silence trains you to wait, to think, to measure before acting. It teaches that not every truth must be spoken immediately, not every thought must be shared, not every reaction deserves expression. Silence disciplines the mind to separate the necessary from the unnecessary, the fleeting from the lasting. There is also silence that listens. True power is not only in speaking, but in hearing, really hearing. When you are silent, you allow others to reveal themselves, their fears, their truths, their motives. Silence gathers information. Silence sees what noise would hide. It is often in silence that wisdom is born, because it creates space for reflection, observation, and deeper understanding. To listen is to learn, and learning is a form of power that grows while others waste energy on words. Silence protects peace. The more you speak, the more you risk entanglement in the judgments of others. Words can be twisted, misunderstood, and used against you, but silence cannot be misquoted. Silence keeps you from unnecessary battles, from arguments that drain without reward, from conversations that do not deserve your spirit. In silence, you keep control of yourself, and by keeping control of yourself, you remain free. Freedom from needless conflict, freedom from wasted energy, freedom from regret over words spoken too quickly. There is silence that heals. In moments of pain, sometimes words are not enough. Sometimes words only stir the wound, reopening it with explanations that cannot mend it. But silence allows the soul to breathe, to process, to rest. Silence provides space for grief to move through without being forced into language too soon. Silence allows the heart to catch up with the mind. Silence, in its gentleness, can be the balm that noise cannot provide. Silence is also a test of patience. The ability to remain silent in the face of accusation, misunderstanding, or insult is a sign of true inner strength. To respond immediately is easy. To restrain is powerful. When someone throws anger at you, silence can be the shield that stops it from entering. It does not mean you are weak. It means you are wise enough to know that their words belong to them, not to you. Silence refuses ownership of poison. Silence says, I do not accept what you offer. The beauty of silence lies in its timing. A silence at the right moment can be more impactful than 1,000 speeches. A pause before answering can shift the direction of a conversation. A withheld comment can save a relationship. A refusal to argue can preserve energy for greater battles ahead. Silence used with wisdom becomes a tool sharper than any sword, stronger than any shout. Yet silence is not always about withholding, it is also about presence. Silence allows you to sit fully in the moment, to be with yourself, to hear the whispers of your own soul. In silence, you notice the subtleties of life, the sound of your breath, the beating of your heart, the quiet nudges of intuition. Silence reconnects you with yourself in ways that constant chatter cannot. It brings you back to center, reminding you that you are more than the noise around you. Silence also humbles. It reminds us that the world is larger than our voice, that wisdom is not always in speaking, but often in observing. Great minds throughout history valued silence because they knew that within it lies clarity, and with clarity comes direction. When the world grows too loud, silence becomes a sanctuary, a place where you can return to your essence and hear truth without distortion. In conflict, silence can disarm. Arguments fueled by ego crave attention, crave reaction, crave the satisfaction of pulling you into the fire. But when you remain silent, the fire has no oxygen. The conflict loses its grip. Silence is the refusal to be baited. Silence is control. Silence is choosing peace over proving. And often silence wins the war that words could never settle. Above all, silence is power because it is a choice. Anyone can speak, anyone can argue, anyone can react. But silence requires strength. It requires a deep knowing of self, a trust in your own worth, a confidence that you do not need to validate your existence through noise. Silence comes from power within, not from weakness without. And when you master the art of silence, you master one of the greatest forms of strength a human being can hold. Victory begins within. Long before a battle is fought in the open, it is first fought in the unseen places of the heart and the mind. Long before a goal is reached in the outer world, it is born in the inner world. No crown ever rests upon the head of one who has not first conquered the doubts inside. No success ever arrives in the hands of one who has not first mastered the whispers of defeat within. The greatest victories are not won on fields of competition, in halls of power, or on stages of applause. They are won in the quiet chambers of the soul, where no audience watches and no trophy is given. Every mountain you see someone climb began as a decision within them. Every challenge overcome by another was first wrestled with in silence. Before anyone else believes in you, you must believe in yourself. Before others see your greatness, you must first dare to see it with your own eyes. Victory is not a moment. It is a process of internal alignment where the mind, heart, and spirit come into agreement that nothing can stand in your way. The tragedy is that many people lose before they ever begin, not because life is too hard, but because their inner world is too weak. They let fear govern their choices. They let doubt steal their courage. They let the voices of others speak louder than the voice within. Defeat is not always delivered by circumstance. Most often, it is delivered by surrendering inwardly before a step is even taken. That is why victory must begin within. Think of the wars you face each day. The war against procrastination, against insecurity, against the temptation to give up when the road is long. These battles are invisible to the world, but they are real, and they shape the course of your life. Each time you say yes to discipline and no to distraction, you win. Each time you silence fear and step forward in faith, you win. Each time you choose resilience instead of surrender, you win. These small inner victories, repeated day after day, accumulate until they burst forth as triumph in the world outside. There is a difference between appearing victorious and being victorious. Some look powerful outwardly but are crumbling inwardly, while others look quiet and unassuming yet carry unshakable strength within. True victory cannot be faked. It cannot be borrowed. It cannot be bought. It must be earned in the solitude of self-mastery. When you win the inner war, the outer world has no choice but to reflect that strength back to you. Victory begins when you discipline your thoughts. The mind is a battlefield, and whatever conquers it will eventually conquer you. If fear conquers your thoughts, fear will conquer your actions. If hope conquers your thoughts, hope will conquer your path. Guard what you allow to dwell in your mind, for it is there that battles are either won or lost long before you take action. Strength is not the absence of struggle, but the ability to master the struggle within so that it does not master you. It is not enough to dream, you must also prepare. Too often people hope for victory while feeding themselves the habits of defeat. They hope for strength while embracing weakness. They hope for growth while avoiding discomfort. But victory within means building the resilience to endure, the patience to wait, the courage to act, and the focus to continue when the temptation to quit feels overwhelming. Preparation within becomes performance without. There is also the victory of identity. You cannot live above the level of how you see yourself. If you see yourself as broken, unworthy, or incapable, you will sabotage every step toward greatness. But when you begin to see yourself as capable, deserving, and equipped, you carry yourself differently. You speak differently. You act differently. You rise differently. That shift begins within. The world does not shape your worth. You shape it by the way you see and believe in yourself. Victory is also tied to silence, to the still moments where you remind yourself of who you are when no one is watching. In those moments, you confront the lies that try to bury you. You confront the fears that try to paralyze you. You confront the doubts that whisper you are not enough. And each time you stand firm against those voices, you build an inner foundation that nothing outside can easily shake. Victory begins with the quiet decision to stand when everything around you suggests you should fall. You will be tested. Life will bring storms that threaten to knock you off course. But storms only reveal what has already been built inside. If your foundation is weak, you will collapse. If your foundation is strong, you will endure. Victory within means building a core that is not easily swayed by circumstance, by opinion, or by failure. It means knowing that setbacks are not final, that rejection is not the end, that delay is not denial. A strong inner world interprets pain as part of progress and uses struggle as fuel instead of chains. Victory is also about patience with yourself. You will not master everything in a single day. You will stumble, you will fall, you will doubt, you will wonder if it is worth it. But each time you rise, you are proving to yourself that defeat cannot hold you unless you allow it to. Victory within is built by resilience, by the willingness to begin again, by the refusal to let failure define your identity. Every great story of triumph has a hidden prelude, the inner journey no one saw, the nights of doubt, the mornings of discipline, the silent battles, the prayers, the tears, the decisions to keep going when no one was cheering. That is where victory begins. By the time the world sees the win, the victory has already been secured within. So when you look at your life, do not only ask, what do I want to achieve? Ask also, what must I conquer within myself to achieve it? For the true enemy is rarely outside, it lives within. And once you win that war, Once you master your mind, your fears, your doubts, your impulses, nothing on the outside can defeat you. Victory begins within, and once it is secured there, the world cannot take it away. The greatest gift you can give yourself is the discipline of your own thoughts. To control your mind is to claim your power. It is to refuse to be tossed by the winds of fear or pulled down by the gravity of doubt. Your future is not waiting out there in the world. It is waiting right here in the quiet chambers of your own mind. Master it, and you master everything.